Emotional immaturity, the hidden relationship killer. Have you ever looked at someone and thought, they're an adult, so why do they act like a child? When conflict happens, why do they act this way? Okay, I know how you feel. This is a really strange occurrence because all of a sudden they start to shut down, completely shut down, and you think, what is going on? And maybe they even explode, get angry, aggressive. You just don't know what is going on. And maybe they even blame you or blame someone else. Then they apologize, only to repeat the same behavior again and again. So here's what most people don't realize. Growing older is automatic, but growing emotionally, that's not. That's not automatic. And one of the greatest predictors of whether a relationship survives is not chemistry. It's not attraction, and it's not even love. It's emotional maturity. Yes. So today we're going to talk about what emotional maturity actually looks like. Why it develops, yes, why emotional maturity develops, and how trauma affects it. Okay, so why you keep attracting emotionally immature people, right? And how to know if you're healing into emotional maturity yourself. We want to know if you're actually doing it, because understanding this one concept can completely change the way you choose relationships. Yes, completely change your relationship life. Yes. So thank you guys for joining me. Welcome to Trauma Talks. Okay. My name is Crystal Booth. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a trauma therapist. And I'm the founder of Wings of the Future. So welcome, you guys. Thank you for joining me again. Today we're going to talk about trauma. Okay, so that's what we do here. We talk about trauma. We talk about attachment, neuroscience, yes, faith, absolutely, and healthy relationships. And we try to help people heal from the wounds that keep showing up in adulthood. Yes. And if you're new here, I want you to consider subscribing, because every week we break down complex psychology into practical tools you can actually use in your everyday life and relationships. So let's dive right in, you guys. Thank you for joining me. Okay, so guess what, you guys? We've been talking about a lot of things lately, but this emotional maturity thing, that's what I want you to really focus in on today. Because people think emotional maturity means someone is childish. That's what a lot of people say. Oh, they're just childish. That's a part of it. Yes, but clinically, emotional immaturity is the inability to consistently regulate emotions, tolerate discomfort, take responsibility, and maintain healthy relationships. So if you see someone struggling with taking responsibility, they might be emotionally immature. An emotionally mature person often has an adult body, but they have a nervous system that still reacts like a frightened child. Yes, so that's their nervous system, you guys, okay? So this isn't about intelligence, not at all. It's not about intelligence. They're intelligent, absolutely, but something happened, okay? So some emotionally immature people are incredibly successful. So you might see them and think, oh, why are they so emotionally immature? They're a CEO or they're a pastor, absolutely. Or maybe they're a doctor or a business owner or a parent, or maybe they function well at work all the time. You see them doing well at work, but yet completely they fall apart emotionally inside intimate relationships. This is where their emotional immaturity shows up, when they're in relationships. But emotional age isn't the same as chronological age, you guys. So keep that in mind. Emotional age is not the same as chronological age. You can be 55 years old and emotionally operating from the age of 7. Yes, it depends on where your development was arrested. A lot of times your development gets arrested early on in life. So how? Because trauma freezes development. When children grow up with chronic fear, yes, domestic violence can be that, criticism, neglect, abuse, unpredictability, or emotional invalidation, neglect, their nervous system often learns survival instead of emotional regulation. They don't learn emotional regulation. They learn survival. So the body remembers, even decades later, what? Just survive. Just do what you need to do to survive. They don't know how to regulate. So science, let's talk about some signs of emotional immaturity. You go through some, let's go through some common signs. So what you're looking for, they cannot tolerate criticism. That's an emotional sign of emotional immaturity. If they can't tolerate criticism, even gentle feedback feels like rejection for them. Instead of listening, guess what? They become defensive. Immediately, their nervous system tightens up, okay? They can't handle it, okay? So everything becomes someone else's fault. They can't hold any blame. Nothing is ever their responsibility. It was their ex. It was their boss. It was their parent. It was their children. It was society. Everyone else, but never them. But because they cannot hold that responsibility themselves, they avoid difficult conversations. Instead of resolving conflict, they disappear, they stonewall, they ghost, or pretend nothing happened at all. Just act like nothing happened, okay? They expect others to regulate them. Yes, they expect you to regulate their nervous system. They depend on other people to calm them down. Yes, to rescue them, absolutely. They depend on people to rescue them. They have to have codependent relationships to help them do that. To fix their emotions, healthy adults learn to regulate themselves while also seeking support. Yes. That's what a healthy adult does. They don't look for people to regulate their emotions. Their emotions determine reality. Yes, if they feel rejected, they assume they were rejected just because they felt it. I feel rejection. I was rejected. Not necessarily, okay? If they feel abandoned, guess what? They believe they were abandoned. The abandonment actually happened. So they really, truly believe their emotions. And they take them face value because emotions may not always mean that's what happened, okay? So let's get into it. They struggle with empathy, absolutely. And not because they're necessarily cruel, okay? You got to keep that in mind. Because they're overwhelmed by their own emotional experience, so they can't be there for others. So when your nervous system is constantly protecting you, it's difficult to fully see someone else's pain. Yes, because your nervous system is constantly trying to protect you. All right. So let's go further, you guys. All right. I hope you keeping up with me here. Where emotional immaturity comes from, where it comes from. Okay, so this is something really important. Emotional immaturity isn't usually a character defect. That's what you need to understand. It's often an adaptation. Children aren't born emotionally immature forever. No, that's not what they're born. They're supposed to learn emotional regulation from emotionally mature adults, their parents, okay? Parents help the children by naming the emotion. They might do something like comforting them during a distressing moment, or teaching them boundaries, or modeling repair after conflict, or showing accountability. But when that doesn't happen, children often grow into adults who never learned this emotional skills, okay? The problem isn't simply behavior. I know it seems like that, but the problem is missing emotional development, okay? All right, there's developmental milestones that are supposed to happen in a child's life, okay? All right, so trauma doesn't just create pain. It interrupts growth. Keep that in mind. Trauma changes the brain and it interrupts growth. The amygdala becomes more sensitive. The prefrontal cortex, the part involved in planning, they don't do that. So that means the goal becomes protection, not connection. You see why they're having struggles with connection? Okay, it's protection. Okay, so this is why emotional immature, regular protective taking and impulse control can become less effective under stress. So the nervous system stays on, guess what? High alert, okay? So when someone is triggered, their brain often shifts into survival mode rather than reflective thinking. Regulate often happen automatically. Healing involves helping the nervous system become safer so that those high level skills are more accessible over time. You understand? So this is what needs to happen. Emotional immaturity versus narcissism. I know a lot of people get this one confused. Many people confuse emotional immaturity with narcissism. They're not the same thing, you guys. Someone can be emotionally immature and still genuinely care about others, genuinely want to help others, and genuinely want to be there for others. The difference often is emotional immature people or a person can learn, reflect, change when they become aware. Okay, so that's the difference. They can commit to growth if they're committed to growth. Okay, so their entrenched narcissistic traits are different because they have difficulty accepting responsibility, consistently empathizing with others, not every difficult person is a narcissist. Sometimes they're simply emotionally underdeveloped. That distinction matters because it affects expectations and it affects treatment. Okay, so when emotionally immature people feel different, they ever met someone? Have you ever met someone, excuse me, who made you feel calm? Right. Who made you feel safe? That person, or someone who made you feel seen. Like you didn't have to perform. You didn't have to put on an act. You didn't have to act like you were okay. All right, that's emotional maturity. Emotionally mature people don't create perfection. No, they're not perfect people. They create safety. They say, I was wrong when they're wrong. They help me understand. They say things like that. I can see how that affected you. They say things like that. Let's repair this together. That's an emotionally mature person. Those words change relationships, you guys. They change, okay? So you see the difference what an emotionally mature person can do, okay? So the hard truth, you guys, here is something that changed my own clinical perspective here. Most people don't need another communication technique, okay? Because a lot of people talk about that. They need greater emotional capacity. You get it? Their capacity emotionally needs to expand. Communication only works when the nervous system is regulated enough to receive it, right? So if your brain believes you're under attack, more communication is not going to work. You're not having a conversation. You're just surviving, okay? In the conversation, that's when you're just going into survival mode, okay? All right, so let's get into this some more, okay? So how do you grow? Healing emotional immaturity isn't about becoming perfect. Just keep that in mind. It's about practicing self-awareness, emotional regulation, accountability, curiosity instead of defensiveness, healthy boundaries, repair after conflict, self-compassion, and tolerating discomfort without acting impulsively. Growth happens one interaction at a time, okay? So let's finalize this, you guys. Here's the question I want to leave you with. When conflict happens, okay, does your nervous system seek connection? Does your nervous system seek connection? Okay, or does it seek protection? That's how you know if you have the capacity, because your answer tells you far more about your emotional development than your age ever will, okay? So healing isn't becoming someone who never gets triggered. That's not healing. It's becoming someone who can notice the trigger. Pause, take responsibility for your part, and move back towards connection. You see? All right, that is emotional maturity right there in a nutshell, you guys. And if someone or something, we can continue developing throughout our lives. So this is what we can continue to develop, okay? So you guys, all right, thank you guys for joining me. If this video resonated with you, let me know in the comments, okay? And what you think is the biggest sign of emotional maturity, okay? So just let me know, all right? So if this helped you understand yourself a little bit better or someone you love, please like the video and subscribe. It helps us reach more people, and it helps us continue this work on Trauma Talk. So who you're looking for, if you're looking for practical evidence, informed tools of healing, join us here. And if you're interested in trauma recovery, healthy relationships, reunification, yes, and psychology behind lasting change, guess what? You are in the right place. So thank you guys for being here. I'll see you in the next video. So thank you guys for joining me. Bye-bye.